willing to see as a new person. I need to do it with everybody, with everybody, with myself as well. Because the woman that I was yesterday was a different woman than the one that I am today. Why? Because yesterday a series of events could happen that bring me another type of information that I needed to integrate within myself. So the woman that I am today has a little bit of more progress on that realization. So I need to make an effort in my mind to wake up and be thankful for everything that I experience, but be willing to release all the things that I see with my eyes from my past experiences, because they are not longer required right now. And if they come back as a repetitive feeling of fear or conflict, that has nothing to do with the people that it's presenting the content within my reality. It has always something to do with my experience in the knowledge of being one with God. So it's a good thing to have this lesson. I am as God created me, because that reminds me that everybody around me is as well as God created them. So everybody is a new person every single day. It's a different person from the one that you knew yesterday. So you have to spare everybody from your knowledge of who they were, because they gain as well a little bit of more information from yesterday. So today they might have a different perspective, a different point of view. And releasing people from your judgment is the way that you can have a future filled with God instead of the content of your ego. So I'm sharing this because we were talking yesterday about a specific situation we had with Lee, and really, it has nothing to do with what he did or what is. It has not. It was all in my experience in the past. So I was not willing to surrender my efforts on correcting the error in my mind, because that is an error. I mean, being afraid of something because in the past I had it differently. I mean, I had a bad experience. Is not fair for anybody, not for me, not for anybody. And nothing had really happened. I mean, it really didn't happen, but it triggered something in my mind. So I had to apply what I did to my ex-husband, even to Lee. And it was wonderful because I said, of course, he's not a different man. I mean, he's not a different man in the terms of, I mean, sure that I don't want to be contradictory, but Lee is not different from Kurt. He is one. He's one. So if I am willing to spare, to forgive, and to see my ex-husband every single day as a new man, I have to do it with Lee as well. If he did something that triggered me, he has his own learnings around that, and I know for sure that he is now really understanding everything. But my learning is that I need really to see every single person in my life as a new person every single day, because I don't get to judge them by my past experiences, because they are all mine. So I have to be responsible about that, instead of reacting, like repeating my behavior in the past. So I can really move forward in life with this beautiful new adventure that I'm having, because I really enjoy to be here right now. And I enjoy now the opportunities that I have to rebuild my relationship with the father of my child in a different form. I haven't lost anybody, and nobody has ever did me wrong in a way that I cannot be here. I'm here, I'm talking. Nobody did really nothing to me. It was just a lesson that I needed to have to remember that I am as God created me, and that is enough. So I wanted to share this because for me it's a good thing to have as a tip. Like everybody, when you wake up, remember everybody that is around you. It's a new person. It's a new person from the one that you met yesterday. So you need to give them the opportunity to reflect the light instead of the darkness that is within ourselves. Okay, thank you.
I think that there's three important laws that we always need to remember. If we can remember these laws, everything will be easy. The first law is the law of God, which we speak often of. That's to give is to receive. And the law of God applies everywhere in any time, dimension, space. To give is to receive. If we got that one right and we follow that, we wouldn't have any problem. The two laws, though, that we need to be aware of in time and space, the law of in this idea of separation and duality, are the law of seeing and the law of perception. The law of seeing says that I will see in my outside world what I feel within. Uh, this is really how our whole world was created. It's a world of projection, and that's why the world is a reflection of me. If hate's in my heart, I'm going to look upon a world of seeming hate and fear. If love is in my heart, I'll see this world as a world of that's forgiving and merciful. Uh, that's my choice, and that'll be dependent on how I feel. As a youth, I felt hatred, and the world was a hateful place because that's how I perceived it. The law of perception is that condemn and you were made prisoner, forgive and you are set free. And that is the law that we need to be aware of because when we refuse to forgive others, where the law of God says to give is to receive. That means I'm refusing to forgive myself. I might be blaming or shaming or guilt tripping somebody else, but ultimately it's myself that I need to forgive for having to have that lesson or demand that lesson or want the experience of being put upon or believing that I was a victim. But the law of perception says, condemn and you're made prisoner, forgive and are set free. When I forgive my brothers and sisters, when I forgive God, and that's what really have to do is forgive God because ultimately I blame God for everything. If He is all powerful, if He is all knowing, if He was all present, uh, He knew He screwed up whenever He made me, and it was His fault. And so I hated a God who I figured hated me. And that was my problem. I refused to accept a idea that God could be unconditional love, and that screwed me up indefinitely. And my world was a reflection of that. So even in the exterior world of time and space, if I ever ran up against what we're going to say unconditional love given by anybody or just an act of kindness, I couldn't see it that way because I had so much hatred in my heart. I couldn't believe that I was worthy of being loved. So if we understand those three laws, the law of God to give is to receive, the law of seeing that everything I see out there is a reflection of my own inner world. I'm creating the turmoil, and that law of perception of forgiving not just my world and God, but myself. This world will be a fun, exciting place, and you'll move from being a earner, a sinner, someone who perceives themselves as one of lack, limitation, and separation, to one of oneness, love, forgiveness, and being happy, healthy, and abundant. So, with that, create a great day. Thank you.
Tom, you are so, so wise. Yes. Thank you for all the pain and all that you have to go through your life, yes, because that gave us this light today. So I honor your life and I honor your journey in this process because it's really amazing, each word that you say. So thank you very much. And good morning, Rosa. You have your mic on.
Not knowingly, I'm just sitting here listening. Thank you.
This is a magic morning for me. I love what you said, Tom. Thank you so much. Those three laws are really key. And that forgiveness that I need to give to God, that was key to me today. I don't have to go around and forgive everybody in my life for everything that went wrong. This is the one thing that opens us up. Forgiving God forgives everyone because we're all one through Him. So that was wonderful. Thank you.
I think this reading, um, is about the size of us. You know, um, if we come from, a point of lack, or like what Tom was saying, a point of just really demanding a lot and having our ego kind of say how big we are when in fact we are both big and small. Sorry about the throat thing here. Um, we're big in the magnificence of God. There's We're connected to God. We're connected to each other. Our larger self that is within ourselves and with everybody around us is huge. It's literally, in my opinion, the size of the world because we are all connected. And, when you're faced with the magnificence of that connectivity, we're massive. And to me, that ego doesn't live there. Where ego lives is when I try to convince myself that I'm small, and it's my ego and my delicate nature saying, um, I don't matter, or no one would notice me if I'm gone, or any kind of minimizing thoughts like that that are just simply not true. And so it really depends on what kind of truth that I want to align myself with, and the power that comes behind that resonance, that being with the truth. And it makes a difference in others that I connect with. It elevates conversations when I come from this larger point of view. Um, and it empowers people to speak and to do what they need to. Um, that's one of the strengths I have at work, is that, even though I'm really, really technical and a leader in the group, the whole point is to bring on the group's intelligence. And that even where, if I want to get something done, or I want to make a group, a team, it's about the people. It's about all of the individuals coming together as one. And that oneness is very similar to the oneness of God, that connection. And, when I'm feeling small, I try to ask myself, am I feeling small out of humility, that, my personal ego is small, and that my large connectivity is huge? If I can stand in a place like that, I I have the ability to do something about my challenges, because I realize I'm connected. And I also have the ability to realize it's not all about me, and that the others around me contain so much knowledge of God. If I'm willing to be quiet, if I'm willing to listen, that there's all the information in the world out there. And that source is God. Thanks.
Beautiful, Shaw. Thanks. If anybody down below is interested in coming up, I'm just going to turn the hands raising off and then open it back up to everybody. If you're interested, raise your hand. And otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day. It's about 7:30, and we start at this time about an hour earlier every single day. Tomorrow I'll be back to read the start of Review 3. We're going to have review lessons for about the next 10 days. So we'll be going back over these same ideas over and over again, and I hope they help you as much as they help me. Divine, Cam.
Hi, Grand Rising. So good to
Grand Rising to you.
see
Wonderful.
you all. Hi. I got here late, so I don't know. Bill put in the chat something about 3 laws. What were the 3 laws I missed?
Tom? Oh, Tom's gone. So the first one was the law of God. Adriana, if you remember the rest of them, let me know. But I know the first one was the law of God, which is
Oh,
do unto
I,
others as you do unto yourself, a golden rule one.
I can give them to you.
Thanks,
The
Tom.
law of God is to give is to receive. The law of seeing is that I will look upon what I feel within. Otherwise, if I feel hatred, fear in my heart, that's what I'll see. I'll see a fearful world. If I see if I have love and forgiveness, if that's in my heart, then I'll see a world of mercy and love. Uh, then the third one is the law of perception, which says, condemn and you are made prisoner, forgive and you are set free. And if that one there is you forgive as long as you want to hold someone in prison, be it others or yourself, even if you think you're holding them in prison, you as a warden of the jail, your own prison of your mind, you have to stand there next to them, guarding that cell, being in the same prison, because you will not let them free, and you have to be there guarding them. So you're in the same prison. So when you forgive, you open all the doors and you're able to let everybody out, including yourself. Whether the other people leave is immaterial, but you can go home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. I got chills. All of those were really, really powerful, especially the putting people in prison. I'm so stubborn. I feel like I needed to hear that. So thank you.
Yes, that is dynamite. Law of God is the golden rule. Law of seeing, what you see is what you get. Law of perception, condemn, you're made prisoner, forgive, and you are free. Did I? Yes, that's the law of the seeing, and that's the one that I paraphrased maybe too heavily. But
I want to add something. I just feel a certain lightness of being this morning. I feel just at the place of being able to let go of the past and the future and live in presence, and which is truth, which is all we ever have is the present, and which is the eternal present. And I get that now. And I just feel so amazing. These teachings are just transformative, and I feel forever transformed. So, yeah, when we just truly live in the present, knowing that we are as God created us, or as I know God created me, can just live in peace. I just feel this beautiful peace because my mind is light. I don't have to carry the burden of worry and fear and doubt. I've in this moment I've let that go, and it feels really great. Um, I was my mom is in the hospital, and you know just dealing with, running back and forth and taking care of things. And I had a trip planned coming up this weekend. I was supposed to go out of town for a few days and just enjoy myself and go to a jazz concert in Panama City, Florida, with a friend of mine, and was all excited. And I could see it all unraveling because my mom went to go to the hospital on Easter Day, and but I just have handled it all so beautifully because I know everything's unfolding as it should, and I know I'm supported. I don't have to worry. Everything's happening as it should. And I know in the past I would have been so upset about this. Um, but in this moment, I like that's fine. I'll be able to travel some other time. I canceled everything, step by step, and got refunded. And I'm just not really. I just feel supported, and I feel okay, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, I saw a deer on the campus. It's this beautiful hospital campus where she is. And I looked at this little deer. It was so beautiful and peaceful. But here it was in the middle of all this human construction, like man-made, like it's beautiful, like roads and landscapes, plants and paths and everything. When you drive up, it's so pretty. And I'm like, oh, little deer, what are you doing here? But it was just so happy and peaceful and cared for. And I thought of how God takes care of the deer and the animals and just keeps the world sitting in the universe where it does and spinning. And I thought, of course, God takes care of me. Of course, I'm supported. So, yeah, those are my thoughts right
That's
now.
beautiful.
So thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're seeing things that way, Janini. It's like so, you know, I wish I had that experience myself, but I do have the experience. However, I mean, I wish I had it then, but I do have an experience of a light body, which I thought was really interesting that you said you feel light. I have that today, really, in fact, and I think it actually feels like a holographic body that's a mix between, the spirit. Obviously, there's still I can see a body, physical outline and everything of everything that's physically in it. And it's funny because I've seen that before, but now I feel like I'm it, which is very interesting. I've seen it like it was tethered to me, and like I'm tethered to it, and like um, whenever I wanted to take my focus off something that I thought was wrong with my body, I would immediately focus on how everything was right in the holographic body. And then I would have no pain. Like if I did that, it's an instant of relief. Actually, is what I've discovered, and that's the light body. And then I realized that it is my truer body. I think it's my truer body than this one. This one was heavy and dense and full of emotion, pain. And now I'm feeling not healed because I feel like it was already there and I just hadn't recognized it. So I thought it was just interesting that you used the word light, and I had that experience early morning hours today. So again, synchronized, I feel, with this room and all of that. So thank you.
This this particular um, quote, "I am as God created me," as you all know, is repeated several times throughout the course, as it said earlier. And it's for a really good reason. Look how it brings all of us into, just to hear it, into just a better place.
Hey, Bob,
Feeling
could you
good.
speak closer to your mic? I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yes, I'm happy to
There
do
we go.
that.
Thanks.
I can do it. This particular I am as God created me is about as simple a statement as it can be. It doesn't have any qualifications. It doesn't say I am as God created me, except that. It doesn't say anything else. And it made me think, as it was being read and discussed in such beautiful, just beautiful uh, words, that even when we were in the, and I just kind of identify with the idea of the Garden of Eden, when we were there, we decided we had to take that apple and eat it. And so I just see that as that was the moment that duality was created in our minds, that we thought that we have to know the difference between good and evil. And this is taking us one step further, or to put it even better, returning back to where we were, because this establishes a oneness. It doesn't say, I am as God created me. I'm different from that, whatever in the past, or even what I was afraid the future was going to be. It just says, I am. It's a pure statement of oneness, of unity, of being one without any concern, without any blackness, black marks against our purity. And it makes it something like a light bulb that just, whose job it is to just shine. It doesn't change that. In today's world, there's change everywhere. Everybody wants to change what was a little bit and say it differently, make it differently, look at it differently. And it's not enough just to have light from which to read a book. No, the light has to go on and off, and you can talk to it and say, Alexa, turn the light off, and all of these other things, that the effort is less now than it used to be, because I wouldn't have to get up to turn off the light. Well, what happens when all effort to make it better is irrelevant? When just as everything is just the way it should be. It's just the best way that it could be. And if we look at today's lesson, I am as God created me. I still am. Even if I messed up, there's no marks against me. I am as God created me. I'm back in the garden again with one way forward, and that is God's way. And He created me that way. And that's why I like, also everybody liked all the nice lessons that the three laws that Tom read. These are all descriptives of who we are and what we are. We are a photon. We are a piece of light or a beam of light. Even that, the scientists say, oh, oh no, light is a beam. No, it's a wave. No, it's a photon. It's a this, it's a that. All of those things are interesting, but the bottom line is I still am exactly the way God created me. That's what I get out of this beautiful lesson.
Your
Thank
voice is so strong that you made Alexa turn on Bill's house.
I changed the name of Alexa in our house to Ziggy so that I wouldn't trigger him every time I needed to say Alexa. And I just triggered him, of course, because I said Ziggy. Go to sleep, Ziggy.
I wanted to say in regards to, this lesson, I am as God created me. Uh, I think that it's also, and if we look at core beliefs, we need to maybe make one more leap uh, to really realize the freedom that this idea potentially has. And it's our belief in what God is. If I perceive my God as someone that uh, made me imperfect, not whole, and very incomplete, the idea that I am as a God of fear would have created me, which would be not extension of all that he is. And the Course of Miracles makes the difference between create and make. When we make, we do not give everything, and we create incomplete item. God, when he creates, he extends all to all, so that it's as Bob said, a continuation of that oneness. So if I perceive God to be a God of fear, or a God that made me imperfect, lacking, then this idea that I am as an imperfect God created me imperfect, well, then that gives me an excuse to blame God. So we have to go back one step more and realize that our story of God as being a God of something other than unconditional love needs to be corrected. That was our mistake. That was our projection. And when we realize that God is only love and unconditional love, doesn't have to be earned, we can deny that flow, but our denial cannot change the flow. It cannot change what God is. And this gets kind of into the authority problem, but that we think that because we're a sinner, somehow we can change how God is. God made us perfect, whole, and complete. And that's what we have to realize, because God is only unconditional love. He didn't create any junk. And therefore, I am as God created me. I am perfect, whole, and complete. And it's only my denial of that truth that holds me back. So whenever I look at this, I know that I had to correct my uh, error, my erroneous thinking of what God was. And when I uh, freed God, when I let my God go out of the prison of my own mind, that I had made him into a vengeful, fearful God, that was the total liberation. Because now uh, I, the most important relationship that you have with anything is the one you have with God, because that takes care of everything. Uh, thank you. So I just say, especially people that come out of the Western traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, we've whether they give lip service to the God idea that God is a God of love, they everything that we see in the scriptures and stuff indicate more of a God of judgment and wrath. And that's where we need to correct that notion of what God is, and you're home free. Thank you.
I have a question. uh, for Tom or anybody else. Um, so the difficulty I'm having with the phrase "I am as God created me," I've no problem with the concept in general, but I'm trying to figure out why it's challenging. And I think what I have come to at this point is that created is a past passive participle, and um, it in the English language it is a past. It's kind of like a past tense. But what I'm trying to, for myself, I'm trying to make that idea I am as God creates me in some way. I'm trying to make it present for myself because my mind makes it past. Oh, God created me in the past through my separation. I've, I mean, there's the lack of forgiveness there. I've sort of messed that up. And now I'm no longer as God created me. I was once as God created me, and now I am no longer. And I'm wondering if we slightly change the wording to I am as
Can I
God
can
creates
I
me.
say something because I really wait. No, sorry. Go Tamara. Go. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
that
yeah. No, I'm good.
it
It was almost done. If we just change it, I am God creates me.
it's funny because now that you're saying specifically that makes it more relevant to be in past because the past is what you need to what you need to correct. I mean, it's funny. To give a service, sorry, I am as God created me is because we never forgive our past, our doing in our past. We are so stuck in the past that is precisely the idea that we have never been children of God that brings us conflict in the present. You're right, it should be if you are already like doing such a great job in this lesson, this should be really like in present, right? But it's exactly the idea that the past that you were, the mistakes that you think that you made, the mistakes that you think that other people made is what needs correction, because in the present, that is the eternity of God, everything is okay. So it seems
Excuse me,
like
lady.
contradictory, but it's exactly the point of why at least that's what I thought when you mentioned that in that specific way. Like, yeah, I know that I'm this, but it's just that can we change the word because it's funny. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it came to me like that. Like it is the past that we need to correct.
Mm,
Well,
lady.
wait.
I, may I
Go ahead,
may
Rosa.
I interject a little
Rosa,
something here?
go for it.
There is no such thing as past, present, or future. That is a made up idea of the ego. We are in the noun right now. Let us not get into what our ego thinks is correct or not correct. Past participles, that's something man made up. Present, past, and future, that's something that man made up. In the course, it states that there is no separation. That means there is no separation, past, present, or future. We are in the now. And whether the English language clarifies it or unclarifies us for that, let's not get into our ego. There is nothing that needs to be corrected with this course. None. It is just a simple concept with simple ideas that the ego wants to conflict with because we're right, right? That's the way we feel. We have
Rose.
created a language that can explicify or clarify. Really? I
I
may
would
be
like
right
to.
or wrong.
Wait. I've been waiting. I'm going to comment in on this one, and then I'll stop. The way I had read it was, I am still as God created me in the past. If you want to add that, so we can play with it, but it says I am, which implies still. I am now. That's as God created me back then. So, Tamara, the words themselves answer the question that you're or the way you're looking at it. And I am, and I could add, will be as God created me. Because, as Rosa said, time itself is not what we think it is. Time is just another illusion. The past, the present, the future, we are is much more important than any consideration to split that up into three parts, past, present, and future. There really is, and anyone can argue this, only one time, and that is this moment, this holy instant. And in this holy instant, and that's all there is, I am as God created me. You are as God created you. There is no way around this, everybody. It's like the greatest statement that can be made, and it applies to every single one of us. And one of the things that was said a few days ago was stop arguing for your littleness, because today is the day to understand that each of us is exactly and still the way God created us. So there's lots of ways to say it, but it really, to me, each time keeps coming back to the same statement. Thank you.
I
So for me,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
Go.
well, let's be brief. To me, I would just like to say, I am as God created me, and I would like to add perfect, whole, and complete. So, because that's how God created me. So I just want to reinforce the idea that God created me perfect, whole, and complete. I am as God created me perfect, whole, and complete. That's all I wanted to say. Thank
I
Okay,
have
Bill,
a
you've been waiting. You've been waiting, Bill. It's your turn.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. I have a couple of things that I think might be supportive that are brief readings from the course itself that point to the nature of the use of words and how certain things the ego uses, and words are, as we've discussed in the past, words are symbols of things. In fact, they're symbols of symbols, and in so many respects they can be twisted and are used against us in so many ways. So from chapter 3, the innocent perception, it says in number 3, and this is slightly off point initially, but it'll come back around. Number 3 reads, the statement, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, is a misperception by which one assigns his own evil past to God. Evil past has nothing to do with God. He did not create it. He does not maintain it. God does not believe in retribution. His mind does not create that way. He does not hold your evil deeds against you. Is it likely that he would hold them against me? Be very sure that you recognize how utterly impossible this assumption is and how entirely it arises from projection. This kind of error is responsible for a host of related errors, including the belief that God rejected Adam and forced him out of the Garden of Eden. It is also why you may believe from time to time that I am misdirecting you. I have made every effort to use words that are almost impossible to distort, but it is always possible to twist symbols around if you wish. And then it also in chapter 3, from the innocent perception, it says, since the separation, the words create and make have become confused. When you make something, you do so out of sacrifice, when you make something, you do so out of a specific sense of lack or need. Anything made for a specific purpose has no true generalizability. When you make something to fill a perceived lack, you are tacitly implying that you believe in separation. The ego has invented many ingenious thought systems for this purpose. None of them is creative. Inventiveness is wasted effort, even in its most ingenious form. The highly specific nature of invention is not worthy of the abstract creativity of God's creations. And for me, it's just, it shows me, when I hear that, in this example, the question that Tamara brought up is, I have a mind also that loves to question questions, and then have more questions for my questions, and I delight in the intellectual analyzation of, nuances, and the nuances. And in so many instances, I step back when I'm able to and say, this is me putting my need for over intellectualization between myself and the peace of God, the love of God. And so I don't say, move forward blindly. I mean, read things and understand them, have discussions like this. But I really think the ego's goal is to speak loudest, speak first, and make every effort to confuse us and help us put for it a block between ourselves and peace. So I hope that supports.
That's really helpful. Thank you. And actually, all of this is very helpful. And um, I do have an intellectual mind that likes to analyze, but also when I read the lessons of the course, I do take them in and feel them and know them from a deeper place. And there, I was having a block with this because it was just like, wait, am I still as thought God created me? And I, and because of my old habit that I'm largely moving past, but my very old habit of self critique, it was hard for me to, I could, that part of my mind, that ego, that what you call it ego, I just call it a part of my mind, um would, what could hang on to it and yeah, but you're no longer, you were, but now you're not. So I really appreciate, so I was having trouble finding that deep feeling and knowing that could carry me forth with the daily lesson. And so I appreciate your discussion of language and that, and I can't remember exactly what you said, Bill, but in the first part that you read where, Jesus said, I'm trying, I did my best to find this language that could not be distorted, but if and I that part of my mind was just, was finding it distortable. and and so I think what Bob said also really helped me to clarify, like, I am that present part and still, and then what Tom said, perfect, whole, and complete. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
You're not a
Tamara, I
quitter.
just I
You're
just
awesome.
want I just want to add, Tamara, just to say something to you, that when you, very often I find myself, when you ask questions and bring things up, and the course so powerfully points to this over and over, is that so often when you speak, I hear me. And it's because I want to just, as I said before, ask questions on top of questions. And I find that when I hear you speak, I am so powerfully shown how things come up for me. And when I listen to that, sometimes it's a screaming in my head that, well, I need to understand this, and I need somebody to prove this or that to me. That when I listen to my body and I feel that discord, that place of off, when I'm trying to take myself in a way that is counter to the direction that the course is pointing to me, that when I listen to my body, my experience of myself, that it's almost like a guidepost for me to say, okay, if this is not feeling natural and easy, then I'm off somewhere. And so I need to get with the Holy Spirit because there's something that I'm not seeing or not understanding. And more often than not, it really doesn't even have that much to do whether something is factual or true. It's more because it's threatening the created, not the created, the made version of myself. It's threatening the way that I had it. It's threatening my identity. It's threatening something that I have made valuable, that I have placed between myself and peace. And I don't say that it's perfect, but that seems to work for me frequently. So I hope that supports.
Thanks, Bill. I was going to just say something to Tamara here that, when we look at the word created, um, as a past tense, I think that we're the one who puts time into the context of what we're seeing, hearing, and experiencing. And, when I see the word created, even if I take it in the past tense, on my timeline, mind you, my timeline and the universe's timeline are probably different, and God's timeline. But what I think of is when, there's a phrase like created, or, something that points to a past tense of creation, or a past tense of being, especially in the context of connectivity with everybody, that we are all perfect, whole, and complete because we all come from the same source. And I think that, as much as, I love God, there's also science, and I don't think it's either or. I think that there's aspects of science that totally prove God, and that totally prove our connectivity, at even a molecular level. If you think of the Big Bang, the universe was created at once. So to say that we're not part of the universe, in my opinion, is scientifically inaccurate. And that we all come from the same source, and that coming from the same source, I believe, is perceived in our minds as time, rather than a present fact that we are all one.
You make me realize, and you make a complete different perception of the word created, because yes, it entitles time, but it means complete. In fact, I am as God created me. I mean, you are already complete. It means, I mean, it's this game of words that for me it's really useful, because when I found another meaning that I have never heard before, I really embrace it, and it gives another whole new world of meaning into what I'm reading and what I'm experiencing. And it isn't about time. It means complete. Created means complete. Thank you, Sean.
I want to add something. I find that now, especially now, some of the most simple statements are the most profound, like let go, let God. And sometimes the most simple things can be the most difficult, in a sense, to surrender. Surrender. Just let go. And and it's the letting go. Sometimes it's very hard for our ego to just let go and love God. And one thing about the whole science thing, my ex is a scientist, and I used to always say to him, "Well, science is God." He's like, "What are you talking about?" Da, 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 da. And I'm like, "Well, because all we're doing is uncovering what's already here. We're not really doing anything. You're labeling things, and you're creating things, and maybe you're putting atoms together differently or in an interesting way, but it's already here. So we just have the ability to examine it for our minds, to turn it around in new and interesting ways that excite our minds. So, yeah, those are just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. I have a question that comes from the room chat from Rich Mara. Rich, if you want to share with us, you can also raise your hand, but I know that if you place the question in the room chat is because you can, probably. So I'm going to read it for you all, and I guess this is for Tom. How many universal laws are there? Says Rich uh, from the audience.
Um, there's one universal law, law of God. To give is to receive. That's it. All the other ones are man or the belief in separation. There's, those two that I mentioned, the law of seeing, the law of perception, and then we've got a lot more laws that apply in time and space. But the one universal law is God's, which is to give is to receive. God gives everything to everything. There is no separation. There is just this oneness, and all the other laws are the belief in the idea of separation. And then we started creating different levels. So there's laws of physicality, but there's only one universal law. If we understand that one, that God gives all to all, and that there is no separation, uh, that's the one that controls everything. All our other stuff is is uh, built on top of that and screws up the whole, you know, concept. So if you
Okay.
understand that one there, that's the one that controls everything. But then we layer our other laws on top that create this uh, duality, the sense of duality. And then there's laws of physicality too that we, layer on the mass collective conscious. So there's different laws. The only one you really need to know is the first one, that you're perfect, whole, and complete. God didn't create any junk. You're part of that oneness. Um, but the course, and we talked about this idea of time. Uh, as Rosa said, time's something we created. There is just the now, but we've got this illusion of past, present, future. If I, because of the law of, let's say, perception, which is condemn and you're made prisoner, forgiven, you're set free. If I condemn my God, okay, as someone that created a worthless piece of shit, which is what I was brought up to believe and I perceived as myself. If I believe that, that's something that was created in time and space after the belief. So, this idea that I am as God created me goes before that crap that we created, time and space, realizing that I am as God created me, perfect, whole, and complete. And it's this belief that came after this idea that I could be separate, that God, and what it really comes down to is that I believed God created me as a worthless piece of shit. And it's his fault, because if he was all knowing, if he was all perfect, and all these other things, he shouldn't have done that. He screwed me right from the get go. And I have no responsibility for that. I have to realize that that's my misinterpretation of what God is. That's something that I created in my mind. I have to heal my relationship with God and let the God that I created, a God of unconditional love that I transformed into a God of judgment, of fear, of a judgmental God, and release him, because that's my own mind that's trapping me. And whenever I can realize that God is only unconditional love, and I've had a number of experiences that reinforce that. They might call it mystical experience, but I know that to be the truth. Whenever I realized that that was my own projection, and I had created a judgmental God, not that I screwed up. If I once I forgave myself for that, then this I could just accept the flow of God's love. That changed my world. But it was my and that was done in time. So I have to go back to the not my interpretation of what God created, but what really God did create, which was you, perfect, whole, and complete, not your projection or your judgment that you're something other than as God created you. So I hope that helps. Thank you.
And
Thank
my
you.
question has always been, so why did God give us these minds that can think of all these crazy things, these egos? And I know that we are free. God gives us this freedom to choose thoughts and to create this reality that we perceive. And then yet we can use our minds to heal. So I find that fascinating. Sometimes I don't quite get it. Why like we have to go through all this mess to get here. Yet the journey has been beautiful and very instructive. It's like you are born so close to God or coming right from God, and you're just innocent, full of love, and then the world attaches itself to you, or you start believing things the world teaches you to believe, and you have to undo it all. Your mind creates all these prisons, and you have to bring down the gates and the barriers, and then to heal. And it's still fascinating to me, but we are free to choose how we want to think. So the freedom that God gives us is that in that point I find that interesting.
Well, you had just said it. It's free will is our mind's individual ability to think. And that there's very practical reasons in life to have that free will and to be as humans to have that free will. I think that if you look at the um, kind of the corresponding parallel is, what's the opposite of free will? And, this may sound surprising, but, if you take two tuning forks that resonate at a certain frequency and you put them side by side and you hit one and it's vibrating, the other one will vibrate. And I believe that we are spiritual tuning forks for each other, that there is one ultimate truth, there is one ultimate connection, and that resonance we have no choice in. It is the truth. Like Tamara, when you ask a question and that raises truth in this group, right? We are all resonating on a concept of love, on a concept of God, right? And not just the concept, the presence, right? And, since we're resonating together, we are a spiritual group. And that spiritual group, from what I see, doesn't have free will because there is a love and a concert going on here in between us that is one larger group, that no individual has power over that group. We are a shared consciousness. And that I think there's a difference in between free will and shared consciousness, and not to be confused with free will and ego, because we may make a decision that is aligned, that resonates with the larger group, with the connectivity of everybody, and for those outcomes and purposes. And I know when I make those decisions, I am my own tuning fork, my own truth, that I can feel, assuming the ego's tuned down, I can feel that resonance with what is true. Just simply by hearing you guys and feeling your love and appreciating you all as a whole. Thank you.
There, there's a particular point in a particular movie that Lee and I have joked about. Susie and I have joked about for years, ever since we first heard it, because it's such a powerful moment in that particular movie, and it's the one where Jack Nicholson screams at Tom Cruise and says, "You can't handle the truth." and he is so justified in his mind that he is exactly right, and that no one else understands the truth as well as he does, and a few other select generals here and there. And it, I almost decided to name the book that I'm finishing up, We Can Handle the Truth, because of that particular statement that shakes anybody at the moment that they hear it for the first time. It's so powerful. And that's what the ego wants us to think. We can't handle the real truth that we are as God created us. Whoa, you're not that good, buddy. Let me remind you of how you screwed up in the past and all that stuff. And God's voice comes through all of that and says, we are as he created us. Exactly that. And so I like the answer that came to me in that thought that we can handle the capital T truth, and we're being given it for safekeeping and to help spread it to other people because they can handle it also, especially many who don't think that they can. In some ways, that's almost our job once we get it, to give it in a non egoistical way, in a non bragging way, because that's not what it is. It is just what it says it is. We are as God created us. So let's get on with it and enjoy life.
You know what?
Thanks.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was writing in my notes something that does it really matter to know why God created us with ego? I was asking myself that question because even if we knew the answer, what if the answer of that is that nothing? We can't handle the truth because the truth is that God is nothing. It's not because he is doesn't mean it's just that he is beyond any symbol, any language, any knowledge, quote unquote. It's everything. So him him being everything is nothing at the same time, if you want to see it like that. So wouldn't that be boring? Like consider nothing, having like blank space. Do you want to know what God is? God is a blank space where you can create whatever you want, even ego. So it's funny because we can't handle the truth because the truth is not that exuberant that we are always like trying to think. It's just nothing or everything at the same time. So while we are here, while we are talking to each other, and while we are sharing our inner thoughts and our perception on this duality, we are experiencing God as well. So why he created us with ego? Let's say that maybe in the nothingness, he said like, well, it isn't interesting to see how I look outside of me. And maybe he is seeing himself, right? So I don't know, but I'm enjoying seeing God among all of you. And I'm enjoying seeing myself laughing at my own life and at my own experiences in fear because they are just a joke.
I think that too, Adriana. And I know you've heard, I know some people say we're all gods, and that's why we have this power to create, or this perceived power to create, is it because we're really not separate. So the ego is just kind of part of it all. Um, I think is why we can create such amazing and so-called horrific things, just the whole gamut of everything, and our own individualized, expressions. So it's really fascinating to think about.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, beautiful gods. Well, it's 8:21. I don't know about you, but I do have a lot of things to do in the level of the form, so I have to get serious now.
You and
But
me both,
I,
Adriana.
but I'm really enjoying this lesson, and I'm really super grateful for everyone sharing questions and participation in this room. It's really a beautiful way to feel God. I'm feeling God right now among you through your voices and through your thoughts. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm having a beautiful day here myself. I feel connected. I feel free of fear. I feel grateful.
Did you
So
set your
blessings.
reminders yet?
I
Everybody
know.
set your reminders. I am as God created me. Come back to that all day long because we need this all day long. You can have this feeling carried through all your work and make amazing stuff today. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, all of you. Have a beautiful day. Hugs to everybody. Hugs, hugs, hugs. And thank you, Rich, for your question too. Keep sharing with us. Bye bye.
Create a great
Bye,
day. Namaste.
everybody. Love you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Love you.